As you wrap up your item writer and reviewer training, I want to take a few moments to clarify any of the policies, processes, and procedures associated with the grant and non-grant covered courses. At the conclusion of your online training, you will be eligible to be an item writer and item reviewer for the project. One common question I have had in the past is it possible to be an item writer and a reviewer at the same time? The answer to this question is yes. Once you are writing and reviewing, however, you are not allowed to review items that you have written. You may only review items that other participants have written. Everybody attending this training should have already seen this course listing. These are the courses that are strictly covered under the grant. Depending on your certification, you will either be an item writer and/or reviewer for one or more of these courses. So yes, you are allowed to write and review for more than one course. We will talk about the process for signing up for more than one course a little later in this presentation. In addition, you are also eligible to write and review for any of the non-grant courses at the same time as well. We will discuss the non-grant courses later. Once you are a fully functioning participant, you will actually work in a platform known as Aquella/the Item Bank and Test Platform, or IBTP for short. The screenshot shown is the login screen where you will log in to write and review your items. Please be fully aware that only grant-covered courses will be using Aquella/IBTP. On the next slide, we will discuss the process for obtaining your Aquella/IBTP account. This is probably one of the most beneficial slides you will see as far as getting started in a timely fashion. In order to have an account created in Aquella/IBTP, the first task you must complete is the online training. Luckily, you are almost done with step 1. Upon completion of your training, you must make sure that your FLDOE security agreement and Pearson non-disclosure agreement forms have been submitted. You can access these forms in this module of the online course. And there is a good chance that you have already submitted these forms back to us. If you have not submitted these forms, you must have these forms submitted as soon as possible. All forms should be emailed or faxed to us at the contact information on this slide. Next, you need to make sure that you have watched both the item writer and item reviewer video and taken the survey at the end of each one, which can be found in this module as well. The videos and surveys have been the most common holdup for participants not being able to receive their accounts. You may also find on the item reviewer video survey that your content area is not listed. This is okay, just pick something that closely matches your content for the sake of completing the survey. Once all of this is complete, I am able to submit your name to the DOE as a request to have an account created for you. During this time, I specify what content area you are working in, so any confusion that may have arisen due to the survey will be cleared up. Once your name has been submitted to the DOE, you will receive an email directly from the DOE, not me, with your username, password, and the link to the Aquella/IBTP site shown on the previous slide. Please be patient with your account being created. It may take a few weeks for you to receive your information. I am constantly following up with the DOE regarding your account, so there is no need to email to say you have not received your account. Once your account has been created, it's time to start writing items. We use Google Drive as a means of streamlining this process so that you, as a writer, know exactly what type of items are available for writing. We are going to go over this process in a step-by-step manner over the next few slides, but before we do that, there are a few basic requirements. First of all, the website can be found at www.drive.google.com. You must have a Gmail account to access this site, so we ask that you please get this taken care of as soon as possible. There have been a few exceptions where participants in the past have been able to access Google Drive through another email, such as Hotmail, and if this is the case for you, then you do not need to create a Gmail account. If for any reason you are uncertain whether your email account will work or not, it's best to go ahead and make a Gmail account. You must then email your Gmail account to me along with your content area, and I will grant you editing privileges to your specific area. Once you have created your Gmail account and provided me with the email and your content, I will grant you editing privileges to your content area. When you log in for the first time, you will need to click on Shared with Me as shown in the screenshot. Upon clicking on this, you will be able to see any forms that I have shared with you. This is a screenshot of my Google Drive, and your list will not be as populated as mine. You will only see forms that are specific to the content area in which you will be writing. For training purposes, we are going to use the Math Item Writer sign up. So if you are a Math Item Writer, your next step would be to click on the Math Item Writer sign up form. Once you have clicked on the Item Writer sign up form, you will be directed to a form that looks like this. This is where you will actually sign up to claim items. Each line represents one item. In this example, you can see that I have signed up to write 3 items in the Probability and Statistics course. Usually item writers will sign up for 10 items at a time, which would mean that their name would show up on 10 different lines. Depending on your level of time commitment, you may sign up for less than 10 items at a time. In addition, you will use the tabs at the bottom of the screen to toggle between the different courses available. As an item writer, you may sign up to write items in more than one course at a time. So for example, if I also wanted to sign up to write items in informal geometry, I would simply click on the informal geometry tab at the bottom of the screen. The purpose of the item writer sign up form is to direct the writers as to what type of items need to be written for that particular course. Let's take a look at a very specific example. If I were to sign up for the item shown, you will see that the first column refers to the batch. When writing items in Aquella/IBTP, you will be required to input a batch number. We have taken the guesswork out of this for you, so you will not have to worry about what to input when submitting items. Please note that the batch number will change as we approach different deadlines. You will receive a generic email from me when batch numbers do change. Course ID refers to the course ID that you will be required to input when writing items in Aquella. Please be very careful to ensure that you are inputting the correct course ID. Most granular level/benchmark refers to the specific benchmark that you have signed up to write for. In the example shown, I have signed up to write benchmark MACC.912.ESH-CP.2.6. If you are not sure what the benchmark is referring to, please refer to your item specifications. Grade range lower and grade range upper will also be key components that you are required to input when submitting items in Aquella/IBTP. We do have different courses that have different ranges, so please make sure you're inputting the correct values. The next 3 columns will tell you, as the writer, the specifics of how your items should be written. Item type refers to the type of item you are writing, whether it be short answer, multiple choice, gridded response, or extended response. Item difficulty refers to the item difficulty that you should try and write your item towards. But please remember that item difficulty cannot be ultimately decided until field testing has been completed. You want to try your best to match your item with the item difficulty listed, but we understand that item difficulty may change later down the road. Because of this, some courses do not have a column for item difficulty and have chosen to focus solely on item type and item complexity. Speaking of item complexity, this is the depth of knowledge level that you must write your items as. All items will either be written at low, moderate, or high complexity, which you learned about in training. In the example provided, I have signed up to write for a short answer, moderate complexity level item for benchmark MACC.912.ESH-CP.2.6. And as I am writing my item, I would do my very best to write the item at an average difficulty. A lot of participants wonder why the same benchmark is listed more than once on an item writer sign-up form, as shown on this slide. This is because we are required to write a certain amount of items for each benchmark. As the project moves forward, you will see the list of required items shrink. Only items that are needed will be provided on the item writer sign-up form. To follow up on the previous slide, you should also notice that even though the same benchmark needs to have multiple items, each item type and complexity level may differ from line item to line item. In the example shown, you can see how some items for benchmark MACC.912.ESH-CP.1.2 are short answer and some are multiple choice. In addition, you can see how the difficulty level has changed from line item to line item. Lastly, you can check to see what the item difficulty level is. However, in our example, all items for this particular benchmark are all written at a moderate complexity level. You may notice from time to time that something just does not make sense. If this is the case, you must contact me regarding this issue, and we will make changes on a case-by-case scenario. Please do not change the item type, item difficulty, or item complexity on the item writer sign-up form without written permission from me. For a grant-covered course, what happens once you have completed all prior steps and have signed up to write items? At that point, you will send an email directly to me requesting a purchase order. You will be required to tell me the number of items you have signed up for and the number of items you are wanting to review. At that point, I will process a purchase order for you. Purchase order requests, depending on the volume of work, can take anywhere from 2 days to a week to be completed. Once the purchase order has been created, you will receive an email directly from me with the purchase order attached. Please do not do any work before you have received your purchase order. We cannot pay for any work you have completed prior to receiving a purchase order. Once you have received your purchase order, please ensure that everything is correct, and at that point you can begin submitting items. Please note that your vendor paperwork must be complete before purchase orders can be created. These forms have already been emailed to you, and most of you have already submitted these back to us. In the case that your forms have not been submitted, please take care of this as soon as possible. Hannah Frum is the contact for vendor paperwork, and all forms should be submitted directly to her. Remember, this only applies to grant-covered courses. This is a generic example of what a purchase order will look like when you receive it. In this example, the participant has requested a purchase order to write 10 items and review 30. Please note that there is no such thing as an item reviewer sign-up form. Most participants will work as item writers and reviewers. As we previously discussed, you are not allowed to review any of your own items. As a reminder, you will be compensated $30 per approved item and $6 per reviewed item. To clarify, you will only be paid for items you have written once they have been approved by the review process. As far as reviewers are concerned, you are paid whether you approve or reject an item, but you must follow the guidelines and rules set forth as part of your item reviewer training. In the example provided, this participant will be paid $300 once they have written 10 approved items and $180 once they reviewed 30 items. Note: the item writer line item and item reviewer line item are independent of each other. This means that if you fulfill your obligation of writing 10 approved items before you have reviewed 30 items, you can request compensation for the item writing portion, and vice versa. If you reviewed 30 items before you fulfilled your item writing obligation, you can request compensation for the item reviewing portion. In addition, you may sign up and/or request additional purchase orders if you fulfill one obligation faster than the other. This is what most participants do in order to keep a steady stream of work continually flowing. Once you have completed your purchase order, you are ready to request compensation for your grant-covered course. You are responsible for monitoring the status of your approved items and how many items you have reviewed. When you are logged in to Aquella/IBTP, you will be able to check to see if any of the items you have written have been approved. If you have a purchase order to write a certain number of items, you will notify me once the number of items specified on your purchase order have been approved. Please do not contact me to let me know that you have submitted items. Only contact me once they have been approved. If you have a purchase order to review items, you will notify me once you have reviewed the number of items specified on your purchase order. Remember, you are responsible for keeping track of your approved items and the number of reviews that you have completed. Once you have sent me notification, I will run a report to verify completion of work. Upon verification, I will directly send you an invoice, which you will sign and return to me as soon as possible. Upon receipt of your signed invoice, we will process the paperwork and a paper check will be mailed to you. Now on to the specifics of the non-grant covered courses. Everybody at this point should also have seen this list as well. It is extremely important that you know the difference between which courses are grant covered and which are non-grant/district funded. It is an absolute requirement that you contact your district representative for authorization before working on any non-grant/district funded courses. For all non-grant funded courses, your district has specific guidelines regarding policies and procedures, and you will need to be in contact with them prior to doing any type of work. If you do not know who your district representative is, please contact me and I will provide you with this information. All non-grant work is done through a platform known as Eduphoria. Note that this is not the same as Aquella/IBTP, so please do not get the two confused. The Eduphoria link can be found in this module. Account creation for Eduphoria accounts is done by me. This is a two-step process. Step 1 is I create your account with your email address. Step 2, you will receive an email notification directly from me letting you know that your account has been created. In this email, you will be given a temporary password which you will need to log in and change as soon as possible. Writing and reviewing items in Eduphoria is different than writing and reviewing items in Aquila/IBTP, so you need to be trained on both platforms. You will find the link to a set of short videos here in this module that you need to watch before doing any type of work in Eduphoria. Once you have been trained in Eduphoria and you have authorization from your district to work for non-grant courses, it will be time for you to sign up to write items. Luckily, the process for this is the exact same as it is for grant-covered courses. Both grant and non-grant courses use the same item writer sign-up forms. This is an example of the Civics item writer sign-up, a non-grant covered course. Notice that batch, course ID, grade range lower, and grade range upper are missing. That's because Eduphoria does not require you to input this information. You may have also noticed that the Civics item writer sign-up does not include a column for item difficulty. Just like we were discussing earlier, item difficulty is something that is truly determined during field testing, and some courses have chosen to omit this from their sign-up sheets. We also mentioned earlier that the grant and non-grant courses share the same item writer sign-up form, and this is shown here. This is why it is critical that you know the difference between the grant and non-grant courses. Upon completion of writing and reviewing items in Eduphoria, you will need to, at the very least, contact me. You are required to monitor and track your items written and reviewed in Eduphoria the same as you are in Aquila/IBTP. Upon verification of work, I will send a report directly to your district representative showing completion. At this point, it will be between you and your district regarding any payments and/or procedures that may be in place. As we wrap up, I want to make sure everybody is familiar with the CFAC website as well. The link for this site can be found on the slide and in the module. There are two very important links on this main page. One is the link to find your test item specifications. The other link is for other helpful participant materials. I highly recommend downloading and printing a copy of the test item specifications for the course you are working in. The test item specs are the ultimate guide for knowing all the ins and outs of the benchmarks that you are writing for, and is very important in constructing well-written items. There are still a few courses that do not have test item specifications listed. This is because these courses are still in development. If you notice that your course's test item specs are not listed, then you cannot write any items until the specs are completed and uploaded to the site. In the participant materials portion, I would highly recommend that downloading and printing the item writer checklist and the sample item guidelines. The item writer checklist is exactly what it sounds like, a checklist for you to go by when creating your items. The sample item guidelines file is a flowchart that outlines the process for the order in which multiple choice answer choices should be written. Both of these files are critical to writing and reviewing quality items. The originality form is also a very important form that we must have on file before you do any work for us. Most everybody has already submitted this form. If you have not submitted this form, please do so as soon as possible. Hannah Fromm is the direct contact for this. I also listed a few files that I would recommend reviewing and possibly saving to your computer, but I do not think printing is necessary. Thank you for your time and attention as we discuss some very important characteristics of the grant and non-grant covered courses. At this time, we need you to take a short quiz regarding what you have learned in this presentation. You will be required to obtain a score of 100%. If you do not obtain a 100%, you will be required to retake the quiz until you obtain this score. If you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to Hannah, Heather, or me. Thank you.